Welcome to New Business in Later Life, where we prove that it's never too late to pursue your entrepreneurial dreams. You will meet remarkable individuals who launch successful businesses over 50, sharing their stories, challenges, and enthusiasm. Your host, lldiko, is a former social housing professional, textile designer, and teacher who described herself as a life artist. She is now a property professional, business network host, and facilitator of the Entrepreneurs Club. Subscribe now to hear these inspiring stories every week.
It is lonely in itself, but you go networking and everybody is supportive. Everybody shares ideas, business ideas, experiences so openly. I've never, ever experienced anything of a kind in an office. Quite the opposite, actually, over the years.
I absolutely agree.
It's amazing.
I think what's hit home to me is that people, they're not competitive with each other.
No.
They want to share the knowledge
Yes.
so that you can achieve too. It's not holding things back so that you won't raise to their standard or their level. It's let's share and let's all grow together. And that's what I love about the network. It is really amazing, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. They all know that everybody's just on a different sort of point on their journey.
Yeah.
So we are not competition. We are all colleagues in this.
Absolutely. It's
So, yeah.
fantastic. It is amazing. It truly is.
Beautiful world indeed.
I mean, when I think back as well to, I did say that I'd always loved property and muddled along. There was someone that I sort of latched onto when I was trying to do a project a few years ago before COVID, before I got educated, lldiko. And I found out about this guy who was renowned for renovating properties.
Okay.
And I managed to get introduced to him. And I told him that I really wanted to have a go at property. And he said, look, if you find a property, Beth, I'll come along and have a look at with you and I'll keep an eye on you. So I thought, oh, thanks. He was called Mike. I thought, Mike, thank you. This is wonderful. So I went off and found probably the most horrific property ever.
Don't we all?
And when I think back, I think I'd have all on to tackle it now, to be honest. I don't really know what I was thinking. But it was a period property, 300 years old. You could never find any comparables to it, even if you tried.
Did you pick that with your emotions?
Probably. Chocolate box cottage, very pretty. When you went in, you needed a nose peg because it was so full of rising damp. The smell of the musty smell and the wet dampness. And it was all, every bit of wood was painted dark black gloss. The windowsills, the old original beams, even the open wooden staircase was black gloss.
Blimey.
And there was dark wooden panels everywhere. It was so dark. But I took this on and Mike came around and helped me see what we could do. And he asked me what my vision was. And I said I wanted to make it light and bright and loved. He said, crack on. And you've got a major rising damp problem. So thankfully, he introduced me to a few people that worked for him who could help because it was a much bigger issue than I realised.
Right.
But I was on a budget.
Oh, so had you bought the house at this stage?
Yes. So I was on a budget, tight budget, because I thought that Simon and myself would be able to do a lot of the work.
Yes.
In our naivety. So when we had the rising damp assessed, we then found out that all the plaster work has to be taken off up to 1 metre high, exposed right back to the original brickwork so that the property can be tanked, treated for the rising damp and made dry again and then replastered so you can start with an empty shell to make it beautiful. So as I said earlier, there was a lot of wooden panelling and the work guys came and we said, look, we're on a tight budget here. What can we do to save some money? So they said, well, you can get all this panelling off and then you need to get to 1 metre high, completely clear, back to the original brickwork, and then clear all the all the debris up. The mess is enormous, as you can imagine.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've done
Yeah.
renovation projects indeed.
And
So
you
yes,
can
I
save
know.
money by doing this because it's big
Well, you
labour
think.
costs and removal of debris.
But now
So-
that you are educated, you know that that means that you
Well,
don't
of
value your
course,
time.
But, we got stuck in and we were making good headway. And then it got to the wooden panelling and we were taking all that off. And behind the panelling, we saw then that the whole back of the house was constructed of a dry stone wall. And it was braced together with wooden battens. So I rang the guys up and said, look, we've got back to everything. It's a dry stone wall. I'm assuming I can leave these batons on because it looks like they're holding the back of the house up. No, you can't. You've got to have everything off because that wood will be damp and wet.
Yes.
And it will compromise the tanking of the property. So we thought, oh, sure, it'll be okay. We'll come back and do that tomorrow. So we went back the next day, and at this point, this was my knowledge of renovations, lldiko. At this point, the kitchen had been ripped out, but for some reason I'd left the oven in, thinking it might come in handy. And I arrived back the next day with a small piece of pork, which I put into the oven, thinking we'll have lovely hot roast pork sandwiches at lunchtime while we're working on site. So went off to get on with getting back to the stone walls here, and we were removing the batons. It was all going well. And then got the aroma coming from the oven, smelling nice, spurring us on. And then we get to the last section under the floating staircase as was. And we pulled the batons and we heard a rumble.
Oh,
and
dear.
do you remember the game as a child? Did you ever play Kaplunk?
I didn't grow up in Britain, so probably I don't know.
It was a tower of marbles, and you had all little sticks in, and the game was to keep removing the little sticks.
It's a bit like Jenga.
Yes, and whoever pulled the stick and the marbles fell would lose,
Yes.
you see. Well, it was like a game of Kaplunk because we pulled the baton, we heard the rumble, and the stones started crashing down from the top. And, this was a 300-year-old cottage.
Was it listed?
Dry stone wall that was coming down. So we ran out, luckily, got out.
I was thinking that the roof might cave in.
Well, we didn't know what we were doing, but we ran out. And when we looked back in, you couldn't see a thing because obviously the dust that was on all the stones, just dust you could not see in. So what did I do? I rang Mike. So Mike, Beth, are you all right? I said, well, we've had a little accident. What's happened? I said, well, the back of the house, it looks like it's fallen down.